Welcome to the Mineral Way, where we unlock the power of minerals in warding off serious health conditions and boosting wellness. Tune in and discover there is a better way. The Mineral Way.
You're listening to AM 1080 KSEO Santa Cruz, and we're getting funky today because our good friend pharmacist Ben Fuchs is waiting in the wings. He's going to be answering your health questions, addressing your health concerns, and sharing some time with us tonight on Flight 1080. So if you have any questions, you can give us a call at 831-479-1080. The phone lines are now open. Text line 831-218-5726 with your questions for pharmacist Ben. Or you can go to the Mineral Way and ask a question there, davemichaels.com. There's all kinds of places that you can go. The best, though, the best option is to give us a call at 831-479-1080 or text 831-218-5726. Pharmacist Ben Fuchs, you know him from George Norrie, Coast to Coast, all kinds of radio programs, TV shows, podcasters, bloggers, vloggers. Everybody wants to get a hold of pharmacist Ben Fuchs, and we've got him for 2 hours here on Flight 1080. We're really excited to have him joining us here on the phone lines. So, yeah, Ben, I can't answer the phone. Okay, jeez. You know, if you can hear me, Ben, then just call in the phone, 831-479-1080. Call that number, and we'll see what... Ben, are you there?
I'm here.
Oh, you're there. Okay, good.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Now, what happened, Dave?
I don't know, Ben.
You hit a button.
I'm going to blame it. I'm going to blame it on, I don't know, gremlins.
No, you hit a button.
No, I didn't, Ben. I don't know what the heck happened, but thank goodness you're here because people need help, Ben, and that's what we're here to do on the Mineral Way. Now, people are used to hearing a radio show at this time of day called Flight 1080. These crazy guys from Santa Cruz put on this show called Flight 1080, but today we're talking about the Mineral Way. So I don't know if anybody has had a chance to check out the podcast, Ben, but we have 4 episodes up there right now. They're labeled which topics they address. So if there's a health concern that you have, just check out the Mineral Way, and bang, you can find out the information that you're looking for, Ben, because we like to help people.
Yeah, and, you know, I like the podcast, but I really like having interactions with people. That's my favorite thing.
Oh, yeah, me too, Ben. Absolutely. But, you know, the podcast, though, the intention of the podcast is to give people a place to go so they can find, you know, a show that addresses their health concerns, Ben, because, again, people need help, and we want to make it as easy to get that help as possible.
There's so much crazy information out there, misinformation. I've been reading about beef tallow. I've gotten all these texts about beef tallow for the skin. Have you heard of this? You probably don't.
Gross. You maybe telling me they rub cow fat on themselves?
Yes.
That's nasty, Ben.
Isn't that terrible?
That's gross. Is it healthy for them?
Yeah, that's what people are asking. Should I be putting beef tallow on my face? I just played with the levels. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you just fine.
So, yeah, that's just an example of how crazy some of this stuff is that people do to their bodies because TikTok influencers, or I guess now there's no TikTok, but because social media influencers tell them to do it, or unfortunately because our thought and opinion leaders tell us to do things. You know, we just had that crazy thing going on a couple years ago, 4 years ago, which we won't talk about it. And simply because a medical professional, a medical doctor, or a talking head said you should inject this stuff into your body, people did it. Not only did they do it, but they actually were vile and hateful to people who wouldn't do it.
Yeah,
you know
it was crazy.
It was crazy, right? And it was only, people didn't know. They only went by what they were told. And that's really the problem that we have today is we trust. You know, human beings are nice. We trust, especially people who have letters after their name or who have some kind of degree or, you know, who hang a shingle outside their office that says, I'm going to help you with your whatever. We trust. And unfortunately, you don't know what you don't know. I'm not going to say there's nefarious intent here, but you don't know what you don't know. And people pass out bad information. So we're here to clear that up. And actually, some people might say, well, how do I know I can trust you, right? Well, you notice, Dave, whenever I talk to somebody, I always explain the mechanism. Have you noticed that?
Yes.
And sometimes to the extent of going into the deep end, I do it. But I think it's really important that we don't recommend or suggest protocols or nutritional supplements or various ideas by assertion. Oh, just take this, take that. I want people to understand how it works, and then you make your own decisions. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to injecting things through your skin, I would just say logically, the blood is the sacred space. Anything you inject into the bloodstream through the skin is going to be distributed to the whole of the body. And if you don't know what that substance is, you're playing with fire. And I would just say that, rather than saying, don't do this or do that. You know what I'm saying? That you want to explain things to people and let them make the decision. And that's what we do. That's what I do, and that's what we do on this program, The Mineral Way.
I like it, Ben. Speaking of making it easy, Ben, we have this new a new website that people can go to buy their Tangy Tangerine, yes. TangyTangy.com.
Isn't that cool?
I like it, Ben. TangyTangy.com. And it's super easy. I mean, this is the easiest website that I've ever seen to purchase your Tangy Tangerine. Tangy Tangy is what all the hip kids call it. And,
do they really?
Oh, yeah. Taylor Swift, Drake, Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg.
She calls it Tangy Tangy?
I think so.
No, she does not.
I don't know, Ben. But she should. She should be taking. Everybody should be taking
Everybody
this.
should. And that's what I was going to say. Jeffy's got, 2,500 different products.
Uh-huh.
And it gets kind of confusing. It gets overwhelming.
Yeah.
And many of them are really good products, and it's hard not to talk about them.
Mm-hmm.
But the complexity of it is, it kind of overwhelms people. And so what I wanted to do with Beyond Tangy Tangerine, and Michael agreed, and you agreed, is focus on this one nutritional supplement that is multifunctional, that doesn't have your fats in it, doesn't have 100% of everything, but it's got a 90% plus of everything, and it's powder that you add into water and you drink. It has a liquid format that goes to work right away. And one of the neat things about the human body, as we've talked about before, is the more deficient you are in nutrients, the faster your body absorbs those nutrients. And for most people, they're so deficient in nutrients, once they put something into their system, they get results quickly. As long as that substance is absorbable. You take a multivitamin, you probably won't feel anything because it's not necessarily absorbable. And even if it is absorbable, or a fraction of it is absorbable, it happens slowly over the course of hours perhaps. With the BTT, Beyond Tangy Tangerine, I call it BTT, you get quick results. And you get quick results even if you're dealing with intestinal or stomach issues, digestive or absorption issues, because there's so much nutrition in the product or in the formula or in your glass as you use it, that those nutrients get driven into the bloodstream through the intestine. Wow. And that's one of the most important features about, or one of the most important aspects of absorption is you need a density, a high amount of nutrients on one side of the intestine to drive or push those nutrients to the other side. And that's what Beyond Tangy Tangerine does for you. Not only does it have liquid format that bypasses issues that you may have with your stomach or issues that you may have with your intestine, but the nutrient density lends itself to what we call driving those nutrients into the blood, pushing those nutrients into the blood. And the reason I think this is important, Dave, is because I've been doing this now with longevity for 27 years. I've been taking the Beyond Tangy Tangerine it was called Tangy Tangerine at first, but between Tangy Tangerine and BTT, I've been taking it for 27 years and recommending it for that long. And I have seen so many people come back with the most incredible reports about weight loss and appetite suppression and getting off their medication, having more energy and better skin. And just a near endless amount of benefits that people report back from the BTT that I could not live with myself if I didn't stand up on every rooftop and scream it to people. You got to get on this supplement, especially if you're not hip to supplementation. Even if you are, it's very handy to use, and it's a very nice way to top off your tank, even if you're already supplementing. But for most people, it's so simple. It's so easy. And I'm talking, I've recommended this to people who are my patients. I've recommended it to my friends, and I've recommended it to my family. And across the board, people across the board rave about the potency of this stuff and the effectiveness, the effectiveness of it. I often tell a story about my dad who was in a nursing home, and I used to sneak him the BTT. They wouldn't let him have it, so I would sneak it in, and I would, when I went to visit him, I'd put it in a water bottle, I'd give it to him, and he'd drink it, and right in front of my eyes, I could see the life force coming back into his countenance, into his face, and I could hear him speaking more clearly. Now, it went away, and they have it, but for a few minutes or half hour that I was with him, or an hour, or whatever it was, he was a new person. I gave it to my mom. My mom could hardly walk. She's got scoliosis. She's 91 years old. She can't really walk. I give it to her. It's like all of a sudden I see her moving with speed in her house, with speed, without her walker. And I know it's the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. This stuff is so amazingly powerful that I owe it to everybody listening, to all of my patients, to all of humanity, really, to stand up on every rooftop I could find and scream, you gotta be on the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. What you get in terms of health, the benefits that you get in terms of health compared to the cost of this stuff is over the top. You get so much value from the Beyond Tangy Tangerine in terms of your health, in terms of your energy, in terms of your immunity, in terms of your looks, your skin, and in terms of your overall longevity, which will be improved. And also, by the way, it's especially important for the brain, as I mentioned with my dad, for mental health as well as for organic brain issues.
831-479-1080 is the phone number. We're hanging out with pharmacist Ben Fuchs. Ben, you and I have mentioned before that the name Tangy Tangerine, it's unfortunate that it has such a bright and kind of friendly sounding name. I mean, this stuff is so powerful. It should have a name like Jet Rocket Engine or it's an incredible product, and the name Tangy Tangerine is kind of I don't know, but it doesn't, say
no, it's kind of goofy.
It's not strong enough. It doesn't represent in the name form how strong of a formula this thing is, because
rocket fuel sounds a lot better, doesn't it?
Rocket fuel. I like that.
Yeah. I do it every morning, and then I do a little bit every morning in my smoothie, and then I fill up a water bottle and I drink it all day long. And that's the way I recommend most people do it.
I like it. So, Ben, we have a few phone calls coming in. We're going to talk about some beef tallow. We're going to talk beef tallow, spirulina. I also have a couple of questions about blocked arteries and ALS.
Both are good.
We can get to those.
Does somebody really want to know about tallow?
Yeah. You want to hear from him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
It's Greg, and he's calling from Prunedale. You're in the air with pharmacist Ben, Greg.
Hey. Yeah, no, I heard you talking about the beef tallow, and I just wanted to recommend that you don't do that if you have dogs or if you're in bear country.
Yeah, bear country.
You're just asking for trouble.
Yeah, well, that's a very good point, and even dogs can, they can chase you down for that too. I don't think they put tallow. I don't think they put straight tallow. Maybe they do, but my understanding is there's products made with tallow, so it's really crazy.
A moisturizer type of deal. You know what I wanted to recommend for health is blending your food. I mean, it seems to do great for me.
Absolutely, 100%. Always blend your food as best as you can. Now, you can't. Some foods don't lend themselves to being blended very effectively, like Bassomatic. Do you remember Bassomatic on Saturday Night Live?
No.
Remember that where Dan Aykroyd drops?
Bassomatic, black bass.
Some things you don't necessarily
or largemouth. Yes.
So some things you don't want to necessarily blend, your meat and that kind of thing. But yes, you're absolutely correct. If you pre-digest, what you're in essence doing is pre-digesting your food.
Yeah.
It makes it much easier on your enzymes. You spare your own enzymes. It makes it much easier for folks who are dealing with stomach acid, low stomach acid, hypochlorhydria, that kind of thing. It's always smart to blend your nutrients or your foods, particularly veggies.
I actually lost my lower dentures out goose hunting a week ago, and it's going to take 6 weeks to get some new ones. So I'm blending everything I got out there, and it seems to work real good.
Yeah. I'll tell you a couple things that you don't want to blend, or at least not too much, and that is eggs and dairy.
Really?
Yeah, you know why?
Why?
Because there are peptides in eggs and dairy that are important, whose effectiveness and power depend on their length. And when you blend, you chop them up.
Wow.
So you make them smaller, so you may not get the same kind of value from them. You may not get any value from them if you chop them up enough. So you want to be a little bit careful with your eggs and with your dairy if you're doing that, or whey if you're doing that.
I have to put a whole avocado in mine just to get the fat, or I won't be full.
Is that right? Eggs are good. It's a good source of fat. And then you can also get MCT, coconut oil, liquid coconut oil. You can put that in there, MCT oil, they call it.
Thank you for the call, Greg. And yes, it is very wise advice. Ben, do not rub bear fat or beef fat all over you if you're going to be around bears.
Yes.
Firefall in Pacific Grove wants to talk about spirulina.
Ooh, I love spirulina. I'm a big fan of spirulina.
You're on the air, Firefall.
Yes, Ben, and I also want to ask a question about what your preferred oil source from meat, animal product oil.
Okay.
That would be from fish.
Yes.
To
definitely
beef.
fish and eggs.
So, yeah, I want to increase my connective tissue nutrients for connective tissue, lubrication for the joints, cartilage, and I want to increase my gelatin as well. I'm asking about spirulina also because I haven't heard about that in a long time. And I want to know what you know about the side effects, detrimental effects, and what the purpose of it is. I know it's high in chlorophyll, comes from algae. There used to be a company in Santa Cruz that made it.
Yeah.
So
I remember that.
I spent a lot of years with a diet of beef liver and onions, beef heart, chicken heart, turkey heart. So like that's why I'm so strong in my late 60s, is because I lived on that kind of...
That could very well be. And you're very smart to understand the importance of connective tissue. In fact, somebody just wrote me today and he asked about eating meat for connective tissue, and I had to tell him that the best kind of connective tissue, the best way to build connective tissue by eating animal foods is not the kind of meat we ordinarily ingest, which is steak. Steak is muscle meat. You know, the connective tissue, in order to get the benefits of connective tissue, or, you know, you get some benefits, but the real good benefits from connective tissue building by eating animal foods is when you eat the connective tissue. In other words, eating connective tissue turns in the production of your connective tissue. And there's a very interesting reason why that happens. I'll tell you in a sec. But what most people do when they eat meat, they don't eat connective tissue. In fact, that's the gristle in a steak. They throw it out. So to get the connective tissue building benefits from eating animal foods, you got to eat what you're eating, organ meats, and connective tissue containing meats such as pig snouts and oxtail, you know, the stuff nobody wants to eat. So if you really want to drive the production of connective tissue, you got to eat connective tissue, and that doesn't come from eating ordinary meat. That comes from eating the kind of meat most people don't want to eat, and the kind of meat that butchers don't sell. They kind of throw out, or they sell it for animal food. So you're very smart to do that. And the second thing is, building connective tissue is the single most important thing you could do for longevity when it comes to nutrition and bodybuilding. It's the very essence of anti-aging. And what's even more interesting is aging itself can be thought of as a connective tissue deterioration problem. Even, you might even say, a disease, a connective tissue deterioration disease. Now, I don't know if I would go that far, but the fact is, aging is caused, the signs of aging, most of, are caused by the deterioration of connective tissue. And in fact, it's the deterioration of the connective tissue that accounts for the misery that occurs with aging, as well as the fear of aging. You know, I'm in the skin business, and women especially, but men too, are terrified of connective tissue deterioration in the face. That's what wrinkles are, and that's what thinning skin is. And that's even, to a certain extent, what dry skin is. So many of, and by the way, also hyperpigmentation in a indirect fashion. So many of the signs of aging, generally, and the signs of beauty of aging skin, we'll say, are really driven by connective deficiencies or a slowdown of connective tissue synthesis. And if you want to do one thing to age gracefully and to look good as you age, it's build that connective tissue. And so kudos to you, my friend. That's awesome that you caught on to that. And I hope everybody listening out there really understands the importance of the connective tissue in general, and also building it for anti-aging. By the way, the connective tissue is considered to be a semiconductor, a liquid, information processor. The connective tissue is literally a computer, and it stores information and it processes information much like a computer chip by passing energy, little pieces of electricity, electrons they call them, back and forth in a selective fashion, allowing it to function like a computer chip. So all our connective tissue is not only important for structure, it's also important literally for how the body communicates, how the cells communicate with each other, and how they store information and process information.
And Ben, his second question was about fats through meats.
About what?
About fats through meats.
Fats through meats.
Yeah.
Meats typically contain saturated fat. Saturated fat's hard fat, as opposed to unsaturated fat, which is liquid fat, and that's kind of a, there's some nuance there, but generally speaking, it's the liquid fat that is the problem. The solid fat is not quite as problematic. However, you don't really have a need for solid fat. Your body can make plenty of saturated fat. There's no shortage in saturated fat. The unsaturated fat, that's the stuff that's like medicine. And sometimes you'll hear people talking these days about seed oils. Have you heard the controversy on that?
No. Tell me about it, a little bit about it.
Well, Doc's been talking
We're running out of time here, but yeah.
Are we? How much time do we have?
I got to take a break at the bottom of the hour. But
you want to take a break before we?
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So 831-479-1080 is the phone number. 218-5726 KSEODave@gmail.com, and we will be back with pharmacist Ben Fuchs. Hey everybody, this is Dave Michaels. I want to thank you for listening to the podcast with pharmacist Ben Fuchs and myself. Second, I want to encourage you to check out The Mineral Way. If you want to order any of the products that you hear us talk about here on the show, go to themineralway.com to find a quick link to some of the items, like the Healthy Start Packs that we talk about. Some of the more popular items, you're going to find a direct link there. But otherwise, you'll find a link to the whole line of longevity products at The Mineral Way. So again, if there's something that you heard pharmacist Ben Fuchs talk about, go to themineralway.com to place your order. That's themineralway.com. All right, we're hanging out today with pharmacist Ben Fuchs here on The Mineral Way. If you have any questions, and please, they had better be on topic or else I'm going to hang up on you and scream at you. So you better be on topic. We're here with pharmacist Ben Fuchs. We have no time to waste with rambling questions. Please keep your questions short, keep them on topic, and we will get right to them. So yes, Ben.
You're kind of a hard ass these days.
2 minutes and they're out of here. That's the way it works, dude. It's if you want to speak with us more, we're going to be putting on some webinars and all that kind of stuff. You can ask questions then, and you can take as long as you want. But here we don't want to waste people's time. We have a limited amount of time, so that's the way we're going to do it. We were talking about connective tissue. Somebody came in here asking me about tendons. Does that also qualify as connective tissue?
Absolutely. Joints, tendons, ligaments, those are all connective tissue. If you squeeze your ears, you'll feel like that little squishy feeling. That's what connective tissue feels like. But when most people think of connective tissue, they think of connecting, obviously. But connective tissue does so much more than connect. The connecting part of connective tissue is mostly called fascia. Have you heard of the term fascia?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, fascia is like a very thin spider web of connective tissue that wraps around your organs, and that's really the part that connects everything. There's also connective tissue that acts like a matrix that all the organs sit in. It's kind of like I told you about the Jello mold, right? Did we talk about that last time?
I don't remember.
Talk about that?
Ben.
So a Jello mold has. You've seen Jello molds. I haven't seen them in a long time, but Jello molds are like Jello with honeydew and cantaloupe. You know what I'm talking about? Strawberries and various fruits embedded in the Jello. Are you familiar with that? No?
Ben, what, Ben?
Are you familiar with what they call Jello molds, which is Jello with fruit embedded in it?
Yes, I am.
Okay. All right. So that's kind of like the body. The body has its organs embedded in a matrix like fruit is embedded in a Jello mold. And that matrix actually means mother or womb, functions like a womb, basically. And the organs sit inside that matrix like a baby sits inside a womb, or like a piece of honeydew sits inside a Jello mold. However, as we age, one of the most important facets of the aging process is deterioration of our Jello. Our connective tissue, that the matrix that all the organs are embedded in, deteriorates. And once it deteriorates, we are off to the disease races, because the connective tissue is like a womb for all the organs. It feeds the organs, it oxygenates the organs, it detoxifies the organs, it electrifies the organs. So once that Jello mold starts to deteriorate, the aging process kicks in earnest, and it can happen at a very young age. That's just one aspect of how important the connective tissue is for anti-aging. But of course, you mentioned skin before, bone health. There's a lot of folks taking calcium for their bones, right? I bet you think you take calcium for your bones, right? Mm-hmm. No. Your bones are connective tissue. There's calcium in there, and yes, calcium gives the bones a certain hardness, but if your connective tissue is deteriorating, you're going to have osteoporosis, and you can take all the calcium you want. And for medical professionals say, oh, your leg, you have osteoporosis, take more calcium, that doesn't work. We get more calcium than any other culture in the history in the world, in this country. We're at the top of the calcium ingestion because of all the milk we're drinking, and osteoporosis is all over the place. So it's a connective tissue, and yet another example of connective tissue deterioration, and another reason why you want to build connective tissue, which there's lots of ways to do.
Okay, sounds good, Ben. We got a bunch of phone calls, Ben, so we got to get to them. We got to keep it short. So let's see, and if okay, so let's get to these calls and see who's up next. I'm going to go and pick the most relevant ones because some of these are not relevant at all. And Ben, I'm here. I do everything by myself, right? I'm running commercials,
You're doing it all.
Doing it all, and it's incredibly difficult to do. But we're doing it, Ben, because we want to help people. G. Joe is calling. He wants to talk about digestion. You're in the air with Pharmacist Ben.
G. Joe.
I got two quick questions. Digestion, someone said something about blending food. It's good for digestion. What I don't understand is, does the stomach break it down to eat more into a puree, and is it the intestines that extract the nutrients, or is it both?
Yes, it's kind of both, but here's what happens. You eat a food, you chew it. That's the first place where the digestive process begins in earnest. And actually, the digestive process really begins in your brain, because when you think about food, you start to secrete secrete saliva. So, and even digestive juices. So thinking is really where it starts, but really we'll say you chew it, you chew the food, it starts the breakdown process. There's enzymes in your saliva that start to break things down. Then it goes into your stomach, and your stomach does something very interesting, a couple of very interesting things to turn that food into what's called, they technically call it chyme, C-H-Y-M-E, but it's like a soupy kind of mass. You've seen it if you've ever thrown up. That's the kind of material it is.
Oh, jeez, what a visual.
I know.
Go ahead.
Sorry about that.
Go ahead.
Sorry about that. So the stomach does this in three different ways, actually. Number one, it does it mechanically. It actually grinds mechanically. It's muscular. And that's one way the food kind of gets broken down. But
what extracts the nutrients? Both of them?
Hang on, I'll tell you in a second. Let me tell you in a second.
Okay.
But the second step, or the second aspect of stomach digestion, is really where the food gets broken down, and this is where the nutrients get released, to answer your question. It's with acid, which many people don't make enough of, and enzymes, which many people don't make enough of, and both enzymes require acid, so both go together. When the acid hits the enzymes, it activates the enzymes, and between the acid and the activated enzymes, nutrients begin to be extracted. To your point, particularly proteins start to get extracted out of there. Some of the B vitamins start to loosen up, but then the real rubber hits the road, if I can put it that way, is when it drops that food, that chyme, actually the soupy mass, goes from the stomach into the intestine, and something probably the most important biochemical process occurs at that point, possibly the single most important biochemical process in the body, arguably. There's a lot of important biochemical processes, but this is one of them, we'll say. And that is when the chyme, which is now acid, it's acidic because it's been bathed in all the stomach acid, right? It drops into the intestine from the stomach. It creates a reaction that's known as an acid-base reaction. And I'm going to give you a little example here. I don't know if you know this, but because you may not be a cooking type of guy, maybe you are. No. But after Thanksgiving or after you make a roast turkey and you have it in the pan, you got this fatty material on the bottom of the pan, right? So sometimes it's really hard to get this fatty material off the bottom of the pan, but there's a trick that you can use if you want to get that off the bottom of the pan. You take some baking soda, which is alkaline or basic, and you sprinkle it on the fat. And then you take some lemon juice or some apple cider vinegar, and that makes a fizzing reaction, and the fizzing reaction liberates the fat. Does that make sense? You follow me?
Yeah, I just got a quick question because I think he's going to hang up on me.
No, let me tell you real quick. After that same fizzing reaction happens in the intestine when bile hits the chyme, and that's where all the nutrients are liberated, to answer your question. Then, or the fatty nutrients particularly, then they're loose in the intestine. They get sucked in through the intestine, and in the interest of time, I'm not going to tell you how that happens, but it's also a very fascinating process.
Okay, I have a sugar tooth. I've been raised with Pop-Tarts and, Captain Crunch as a kid. How do I kick this freaking
More
sugar?
protein. More protein. Lots more protein. That's the key to reducing. In fact, there's one amino acid called glutamine, Glutamine, that's almost like a cure for sugar craving, and that's found in high protein foods. But you can also get it straight. You can get straight powder.
Thank you for the call, Joe. 831-479-1080, 218-55726. Ed in Capitola wants to talk about the gallbladder, Ben.
Should we give out a free BTT to somebody?
Sure, I guess, yes. And if they don't get one, they can always go to tangytangy.com and purchase it there. Super easy to use. But do you want to give one away, Ben?
Yeah, I think we'll give one away. Maybe at the end of the program.
Okay. Sounds good. So keep it tuned in, you guys. Ed is up next in Capitola. And again, Ben, he wants to talk about the gallbladder. You're in the air,
sir.
Ed.
Yes, sir, Ed.
Yeah, thanks. Is BTT, what would you recommend for somebody that has a gallbladder that's been removed?
Absolutely, 100%. I'll tell you why. When you have a gallbladder, and by the way, if you have your gallbladder, you want to keep it. There's like 500,000 gallbladders that are removed out of human bodies every year in the United States, and it's a tragedy for many of them. Sometimes it has to happen, but for many of them, it's not. There's other ways to do it. So there's other ways to take care of gallstones, which are the main reason why people have cholecystectomies, as they say, gallbladder removals. So the BTT has fatty vitamins in it. And one of the things that happens when you have a gallbladder removed is you're not going to absorb your fatty vitamins as effectively because bile is required for that. When you do the BTT, those fatty vitamins are in a form that's easy for the body to process and much easier for the body to process. So yes, the BTT is really highly recommended for everybody, but particularly if you had a gallbladder removed or you have fatty liver issues or any kind of bile issues.
All right, super. Thanks for the answer.
Thank you for asking.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you for the call. 831-479-1080. I got to write that down, Ben. I'm writing down everything that we've been talking about. So far, we've talked about beef tallow, connective tissue, digestion, the gallbladder.
Yes. Is this an interesting and entertaining show for the people?
I hope so, Ben. I'm not one of the people. I'm out here on this side of the microphone, but I would, suspect that. Yeah.
It's funny because the only way to really know who's listening out there is by callers, but we know only is like 1% of people who listen call, right? Or 5%.
Yeah, it's general wisdom is 1%, of listeners call. But we got a bunch of phone calls, Ben, so let's start getting through them.
My Santa Cruz friends? I love Santa Cruz.
Let's head out to, this time we're going to head out to Hollister and pick up Chris. He's got a question about hair loss.
Hair loss.
Chris, you're in the air.
Yes, hello.
Hello, Chris.
Gentlemen, I'm just curious, sir, is there any type of a supplement or a nutrient that can help
very important question.
Hair loss?
Yeah, hair loss needs to be regarded for most people and most of the time as an imbalance in biochemistry, particularly in hormones, and usually it involves insulin, the hormone. There's a very important connection between insulin resistance and hair loss. Insulin resistance, which is, it's almost like an epidemic, pretty much half of Americans have some degree of insulin resistance, throws off all your male hormones. It also throws off your female hormones too. So one of the things that happens when your insulin becomes resistant is your body doesn't really interpret the growth signals as effectively, and that's one of the major reasons for hair loss. Now, there are a couple other things that go on with hair loss, and probably the most important in addition to insulin resistance is overall nutritional deficiencies. And I'll tell you what I mean here. Or overall stress on the body, not just nutritional deficiencies. That's an aspect of stress, but overall stress on the body. See, to the body, the hair doesn't matter. So under conditions of either nutritional deficiency or high levels of stress hormones, nutrients and blood and energy in general will be diverted away from the scalp towards the center of the body. And so you don't want to treat hair loss as a targeted a problem that you can target a solution for. So when you ask, are there supplements for hair loss? No. It's a sign of overall biochemical imbalance or dysregulation, particularly around blood sugar and insulin. So you want to treat yourself like a diabetic. That's number one. And then number two, if you're dealing with elevated stress hormones, and that can come from the sugar or the insulin resistance, they're connected, or it can also be psychological stress. It could be nutritional deficiency stresses, any stressors on the body. And in general, this is what good health really is. It's not overloading the body with stressors, whether those stressors are positive stressors like sugar or ultra-processed food or psychological issues, or negative stressors like not enough nutritional supplements, not enough nutrition, not enough oxygen, not enough movement or exercise. So there's two levels where stresses can occur, either in a negative sense or in a positive sense, and addressing those is just a general way to keep your body healthy. And hair loss is not so much a sign of hair loss, even though that's what we see, as much as it's a sign of overall bodily dysregulation, and that's how you want to approach it. So for you, I would do, if it was you, whoever's the hair loss patient, I would say the healthy blood sugar pack, and treat yourself like a diabetic. And I would say do anything you could do to reduce stress on the body, from everything from getting on a good nutritional supplement program like the healthy blood sugar pack. Longevity also has a product called De-Stress. And then also slow, deep breathing, relax, muscle relaxation. If there's psychological issues, dealing with those, meditation, getting enough sleep, all the kinds of things that we know we have to do for good health, really because they help us reduce the stress load on the body. So it's a stress issue, a hormone issue, particularly with insulin. There's also male hormone and thyroid that's involved, but usually insulin and blood sugar are where you want to target.
Thank you for the call, Chris. 831-479-1080. We are speaking with pharmacist Ben Fuchs. If you have any questions, you can also send a text message, 831-218-5726. Let's head out to San Jose, Ben. Yes. And we're going to pick up Jay, and he's got a question about Menudo, and, maybe we'll see what this is.
Menudo, the band?
I don't think. Well, maybe, right Jay. You're in the air.
Thanks for taking my call. Hey, right on for taking my call.
Yeah.
I've been taking this Rebound.
Okay.
I play handball.
Okay.
I play handball like 2-3 days a week. I play like at least minimum of 2 hours, 3 hours. I burn maybe 2,000 calories.
Awesome.
Every time I get it in. But I usually play like at 5, and I'm not done till like 8. And then I gotta, come home, take care of everything, and then lay it down. But I take Rebound because I heard Dr. Wallach say got 100 minerals and vitamins, but it has taurine and green tea in it. It's like I'm already hyped up from moving so much to where I can't. It's sometimes hard to sleep. And then I take the tangy tangerine, and it kind of not as bad, but I don't know if there's anything else you could recommend. Like I take sea moss. I make my own sea moss, but I don't know. Like I can't feel the same effects I do when I take the Rebound or the tangy tangerine. So
I lost you there for a second.
Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I lost you there for a second, so I didn't hear exactly what you said. The Beyond the Rebound FX, I'm not sure. Did you say it has the plant-derived minerals in there, in the Rebound?
Yes, it does. Yeah, correct, it does.
Does it? I didn't know that. I thought it was just...
According to this.
Are you positive?
No,
it does have plant-derived minerals. Yes, you're right.
For sure.
You're right. I'm sorry, you're right. The Rebound FX is not designed to be taken at bedtime. You can do the Beyond Tangerine at bedtime, although drinking water... Yeah, go ahead.
Well, he recommends he recommends that if you whatever you take, put out your body, you need to put back in. Which
I see. That's the Rebound is. Yeah. So you can do that. If you're asking, can I do that because of the green tea? Can I do that?
No, that's not what. No, that's not what I'm asking. What I'm asking is what else would you recommend other than tangy tangerine? Because I tried that too as well afterwards, but
it made you.
Not to get energy afterwards.
No. Did it keep you from sleeping? Did it keep you from sleeping? When you took
a few times. Yeah, a few times. Yeah,
okay, yeah.
I sleep, but it just affects me.
There's a couple amino acids that are in the Beyond Tangy Tangerine and in the Rebound, and these amino acids are really interesting because they're like speed. If you took them straight. Now you're not getting enough in the Rebound to really have that kind of effect, but you may be noticing it, especially with the green tea. If you want to replace your nutrients after you work out, but it's late at night kind of thing. I would go with the BTT before I went with the Rebound, because the Rebound does have that green tea in it, but both of them can possibly conceivably give you a little bit of a buzz. So you're gonna have to see that, check that out for yourself.
Okay, what would you say about like sea moss?
Sea moss? I'm not hearing what you're saying.
Correct, yeah. Sea moss.
Like seaweed?
SEAMOSS.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's awesome stuff. Awesome. How do you know about that? What made you ask me about that? That's awesome stuff.
I make it. I make the gel and I take it.
Oh, dude.
But I can't feel the same effects from...
That's amazing. That stuff's amazing. Seaweed is so powerful. It's hard to even describe how powerful that stuff is. Seaweed is probably, possibly gram for gram, the most powerful substance on the planet. There's a few other things, so arguably, but it's incredible. And eating seaweed is an incredible thing to do. And mixing with water activates it. So you're right on, bro. That's really smart stuff. Sea moss is a type of seaweed, but there's many different types. We have a great one called Fucoid Z. I don't know if you know about that. And that was interesting because, Fucoid Z, because it's seaweed, has so many benefits. It almost sounds like you're blowing smoke when you talk about Fucoid Z. I got to do a video on it here for my friends Raymond and Yolanda. Yeah. And it's got so many incredible benefits, from helping your blood to helping your connective tissue to being important for your immune system, and being great for your skin and your heart and lowering your blood sugar, and being important for the digestive system, acting as a prebiotic to help feed the probiotics. I mean, it's unbelievable what Fucoid Z does, and because of the power of the seaweed. And in the interest of time, I wish I could tell you how amazing seaweed was, some of the reasons why it's so amazing. But just know that seaweed is really, really, gram for gram, you can't do much better in terms of nutrition.
Thank you for
yeast.
Thank you for the call, Jay. 831-479-1080. And again, if you want to speak more in depth and you want to speak more with pharmacist Ben Fuchs, I encourage you to join the team. And
personal Zoom calls.
Yeah, we'll do some personal Zoom calls, and you can ask them. We'll have more time doing it that way. But
yes, this is a teaser.
Yes, there you go, Ben.
Yes,
and we're trying to help as many people as we can while we have this time. But we got to keep these calls short. Rory is calling from Watsonville, California.
Rory, is this my friend Rory?
Yeah, thank you, Ben, and
smartest man in Santa Cruz.
Hey, I heard you guys talking about tallow on the skin.
Yeah.
And just a quick caution, I have a daughter that did it, and she broke out. She had a bad reaction to it. Yeah. And it actually was your Truth Treatment 5% retinoic acid that brought her back. I mean, it went from like gnarly to back.
Your daughter's doing my Truth Treatments?
She did, as kind of a rescue after she did tallow on her face and a couple times, and she didn't realize, like, hey, I'm having a bad reaction. So just a word of caution, do a little patch somewhere first. Make sure you don't have an allergic reaction.
There's some nutrients in tallow, but generally speaking, it's pretty yucky stuff to put on your skin.
Yeah, anyway, the Truth Treatment retinoic acid 5% was amazing.
Retinol 5%.
Yeah, retinol. I'm saying the wrong thing. Sorry.
No, right.
But quickly, to your credit, yours and Doc Wallach's credit, just watching Make America Healthy Again, RFK Jr. under the gun today from these pharma-controlled senators. There's so much more awareness now in the last 30 years.
There is.
It's amazing. It's happening.
Yeah, it's happening.
And good for you. Thank you. And I'm looking forward to the. What do you guys
Doc was on the cutting edge. Me and Doc were on the leading edge of that. But it's happening now. It absolutely is.
I'm going to be 65 in March. I don't take drugs.
March what? March what?
23rd. I'm
going to be 65 in March too.
Oh, right on. Yeah, and I don't take pharmaceuticals. I take BTT, Dave knows, and a little ethyl alcohol.
And you're looking. Last time I saw you, you're looking really good, really strong. I thought I saw you last time. I think. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Anyway, I'm looking forward to your mineral. What are you going to call
it? The mineral way.
Moment?
The mineral way. The mineral moment. Wait a minute.
Oh, yeah. Way to go, Rory. Now I got to change the website and change all that. Get out of here. Thank you for the call, Rory.
That, the mineral moment. That's too shabby.
Yeah, that has a good ring to it, Ben. You know what, Ben? I'm going to go to my text messages here. How much time do we have? 4 minutes. Do you think we could do anything on 4 minutes?
Sure. I'd love that.
Here's the first one. Ben.
Yes.
What is your opinion on acupuncture? Does it really work?
Great. Heck yeah, it works. Oh, my God. Mothers give birth to babies.
Gross.
On acupuncture. Gross. Did you say gross?
Yeah, they're gross. Babies.
Scratch that. That's a miracle. People have limbs amputated with acupuncture and no anesthesia. I mean,
wow.
Acupuncture is. My brother quit smoking. He tried to quit smoking for years. He had some guy put acupuncture needles in his ears. He never smoked again. Never even wanted a cigarette again. So there are speaking of connective tissue, there are concentrations of connective tissue, the fascia, that run along with the ancient people. I don't know how they knew it, but the ancient people called acupuncture meridians. Have you heard that term? Meridians?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Yeah, these meridians are. They're connective tissue. They're concentrations of the connective tissue. Remember I was saying how the connective tissue is an information processor and it has electrical properties? Acupuncture takes advantage of that. It leverages that. And by kind of changing the way current flows through the connective tissue with the needles, you can do incredible things. And they've studied the different responses that the body has compared to different places that the needle goes. And there's textbooks on how you do all kinds of things, including surgical procedures and helping people with high blood pressure and various immune problems by sticking needles in particular parts of the connective tissue in what are called the meridians. And by the way, much of that connective tissue, which is fascia basically, is made up of something called hyaluronic acid.
Oh, I've heard of that.
I know. I was about to say, eating hyaluronic acid is another great connective tissue building strategy.
831-479-1080. So, Ben, I believe that acupuncture could work, for instance, to stop smoking because, you got this big needle sticking out of your ear and you're thinking, man, I could really smoke this cigarette, but maybe I should take this needle out of my face.
Yeah, that's right. That's the last thing you're thinking of is smoking a cigarette when you have a needle sticking out of your face. It's not in your face, though. It's in your ear, at least with my brother.
Here's a text message to finish off the hour. And, Ben, when we get back, I got to ask a question for somebody who's dealing with ALS, and I'm not sure. I think he tried calling, but just couldn't keep connected for some reason. So that's the first question I want to ask when we get back, to make sure that we help him out as well. But we're going to go out with this text message, and it says, I love Ben. He's the best. And that's from Katrina. Right? And yeah, Ben.
Oh, thank you.
Everybody loves Ben.
You love me some Ben? I love me some Ben. It's not even me. It's just what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it.
Well, Ben, you hold it right there. Don't you go anywhere, Ben, because we have another hour straight ahead. So don't go anywhere.
I'm right here.
You can take a 5-minute break. You can stretch your wings and do all that kind of stuff, but don't go anywhere. We'll be back in 5 minutes with more questions from the audience right here on The Mineral Way. Keep it tuned in. Okay, this looks like a good time to remind you guys to check out The Mineral Way. If there's any of the products that you hear us talk about, you can order them at themineralway.com, whether it's the Healthy Start Pack, the Bone and Joint Pack, the Blood Sugar Pack, the Digestion Pack, any of those, and of course the Tangy Tangerine, which is a classic. All of those can be purchased at themineralway.com. That is the best place to go. Don't buy your products from anywhere else. You won't get the support that comes along when you go to The Mineral Way and make your purchase there. Themineralway.com, that is the place to order any of the products that you hear pharmacist Ben Fuchs and me talk about. So with that out of the way, we're going to get back to the show. Remember, themineralway.com. All right, now we got that commercial out of the way. You're listening to The Mineral Way with pharmacists Ben Fuchs and Dave Michaels, where we answer your health questions, help you to heal, help you to avoid unwanted conditions, Ben. I mean, we can't use any of those words that I would prefer to use, but you know what we're talking about. We're talking about better health.
Biochemical processes. You talk about biochemistry. Nobody owns biochemistry.
Wow. I like that.
And here's another word.
Yeah.
You ready? I know you hate big words, so I'm going to
keep it simple.
Prepare you.
Okay.
Dysregulation.
Oh.
Is that okay?
Sure, that's okay.
Because the body, that's what the body does. It regulates. It pulls the ups down and the downs up. It keeps things at a certain level based on what's necessary. When they go up, it has a way of pulling them down, and when they go down, it has a way of pulling up. And that's everything. The secretions and the synthesis and the growth and all the things that the body does goes up. They go up and down depending on what's needed, and that process is called regulation. What we suffer from is dysregulation. That means our regulatory systems are messed up. The highs are staying high, and the lows are staying low. And the highs are really high, the body's not pulling them back down, and the lows are really low, the body's not pulling them back up. That's what dysregulation is, and that's what all sickness is, and nobody owns it. You can talk about that all day long.
Okay. All right, Ben. I got your message, Ben, so we don't have much time left.
I know.
We got to get through this. So for our friend with I got to mention a few things first. Number one, The Mineral Way is the name of the podcast. You can check this out on all your favorite podcast streaming platforms. That's iTunes, Spotify, iHeartMedia, any of those ways, iHeartRadio and YouTube as well. Everywhere. You can find it everywhere. The Mineral Way is the name of the podcast. TangyTangy.com is a new website. Super easy to order your Tangy Tangerine. Go there, just one click away from the back office, and you can order it very, very easily. TangyTangy.com. So for our friend that's dealing with ALS, Ben,
that's a bummer.
He had a hard time talking on the phone, so let's
talk about
do that for him.
Yeah.
Let's talk about ALS.
Have you ever seen, Lou Gehrig's disease? Have you seen anybody with ALS?
I didn't ask them, but I suspect that I have, yes.
Well, you remember Stephen Hawking's?
Yes.
So ALS, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, is basically I make a joke there's only one disease. I call it MBFA disease. MBFA disease is my body is falling apart disease. That's the only disease there is. And ALS is a classic example of it. ALS, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease, is just the body falling apart, except the part of the body that falls apart is the nerves. It's a neurodegenerative disorder. The nerves degenerate, basically, and obviously when the nerves degenerate, you can't, your muscles don't work. You can't move. You can't open your mouth. You can't talk. You remember Stephen Hawking's is the classic example of an extreme case of it. And I'm going to tell you right now what the problem is, okay? And I wish this gentleman was on the call because we could talk about it. Whenever you, and it's not an autoimmune disease, but it's extremely similar to autoimmune diseases like MS and such. And now there is evidence that makes it sound like it's an autoimmune disease, but it doesn't matter. It involves the immune system. It involves the immune system. I'm going to say it again because it's so important. ALS is an immune system problem. And this is the secret to understanding it and to reversing it.
Okay.
Whenever you have an immune system problem, and this is a fundamental thing, what I'm going to say, this covers so many different disease states, and it makes it so much easier for us to deal with these things on our own without medical intervention, which can't help anyway. As this guy will tell you, whenever you have an immune problem, like ALS or anything else, you have an attack on the body. And the body is responding to the attack because the immune system is your defense system. So immune responses that are abnormal, like hyper, extreme, or they're attacking the tissue of the body, are defensive responses. Step number one. So when you have a defensive response and you want to end it or reverse it, well, this is logic here. No medicine, no science, just logic. When you have a defensive response that you want to end, what is the logical way to end it? To look for the offending agent. If you have a defensive response, by definition, you have an offending agent. Offense, defense, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is so logical. So when you have ALS, you have an offending agent that has gotten into the body. Period. End of story. This is not up for debate. This is not an argument. This is how the mechanism works. This is not anything somebody could say, where's your studies? Can you prove it? This is how the system works. You have an immune response. By definition, something has triggered it. So the question is, what's triggering it? Well, if you're an IV drug user, yes, you can get ALS or diseases similar to ALS. If you're an IV drug user, because you're going right into the blood, right into the body through the skin. When we say into the body, we mean into the blood. But for most people, how do things get into the body, i.e. the blood? For most people.
We eat it.
We eat it.
Yeah.
We eat it. So this is anytime you have an immune problem, by definition, you're almost, not exactly, but pretty close to by definition, you have an intestinal problem. And it's no accident that the immune system lives in the intestine. Its home and headquarters are the intestine. So immune responses are nearly by definition, with some exceptions like IV drug use or the V word, they're almost by definition intestinal issues. So for this gentleman with ALS, which is tragic, it's probably progressed at this point if he can't talk, start working with your food, work with your digestion. I can help you. So if you want, you can have him email Dave and we'll get back to you. But anybody out there who's dealing with any immune problem, I'm not talking about the digestive system and food and the intestine because I'm some, organic, eat right, veggie, David Avocado Wolf guy. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the logic of an immune response, which is of the immune response and the inflammatory response, which are the same, which is behind everything, every pathology you can name. is behind it. I was just reading now doctors recognize Parkinson's disease is a digestive issue. And I was just reading a study. I talked about this on my Zoom call. By the way, I do Zoom call every Friday on Daily with Doc. And we talked about a study, article, not a study, but research that just came out that talked about autoimmunity and leaky gut. And that's what we're talking about here. Don't wait for a study or an article or research or a drug company or a doctor to tell you. It's just logical.
Thank you, Ben. We have three more phone calls here, and we have about 15 minutes, so let's try to keep them down to about 4 minutes each.
I do ramble.
Well, that's okay, but 4 minutes each is a target, so let's get to the next call, and this is Craig calling from Campbell about CBD and instant coffee. You're in the air, Craig.
Yeah, hi. Interesting program. I want to ask you about the CBD oil or medical cannabis. What usually works with this? Usually these products seem way expensive, and a lot of them are rip-offs. But I heard one medical person say that it helps you sleep, and CBD? I don't know. What's your take on it?
You talking about CBD?
No.
What you talking about medical? What are you talking about exactly? I'm not.
CBD oil or cannabis? Medical.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So a couple things. First of all, there's a natural, nutritional way to make your own CBD. CBD is made in your body, and cannabinoids are made in your body. I'm sure you know that. They call them endocannabinoids. That endo means inside.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. They're made in your body. They're one of the most fundamental hormones in the body, are the cannabinoids, which are very similar to the stuff in marijuana. In fact, there may be some of that are exact. There's a whole spectrum of these cannabinoids. Okay, so cannabinoids in general, guess what God or nature or whatever you want to say, guess what the cannabinoids, nature made the cannabinoids to do in the body? Relax you. You surprised? Help you go to sleep.
No.
Relieve pain. Exactly. That's why people
smoke
pot.
Can help you sleep, maybe.
And help you go to sleep. All of it. The cannabinoids are they're your natural, the way nature decides has devised, the plan devised for you to be stoned. And I'm exaggerating, not be stoned, but relax.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so,
yeah, a lot of us older, everybody older like me seems like they all have sleep problems, and you sleep like a baby.
Absolutely.
When you're young. So what's a good product?
Well, hang on. Let me tell you something. I'm going to tell you something really cool. I'm going to give you a nutritional strategy. Okay? Do you know there's a thing called cannabinoid deficiency? Some people don't make enough cannabinoids. So you can actually be deficient in your own natural marijuana. And I'm being facetious here. It's not marijuana. But you can be deficient in your own natural endocannabinoids. So how do you build them? And by the way, as you get older, that can happen. And as you're under more and more stress, that can happen. So how do you build them? One of the best ways is to take in the raw materials for the cannabinoids, for building cannabinoids. The raw materials for building cannabinoids are called the Ultimate EFAs.
Wow.
And the Ultimate EFA Plus. How do you like that? The Ultimate EFA and Ultimate EFA Plus will help you make your own marijuana. And again, I'm teasing. I'm not being facetious.
Oh, dang it.
Make your own endocannabinoids. And so, yes, cannabinoids are very, very powerful, very, very powerful, fundamental molecules.
And how do you do that? What's the bottom line?
Take your EFAs, make sure you're getting enough fats, and also absorbing your fats. Yes, go ahead.
I mean, what do you take to do that? Or what
I just told you, Ultimate EFAs, longevities.
What is Ultimate EFA?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Come on, Ben.
God, am I going crazy here?
No, my bad. I apologize.
Thank you for the call, Craig.
What are Ultimate EFAs?
Well, you tell me, Ben. You're the pharmacist.
We just did a whole program.
They're essential fatty acids.
Yeah, they're your essential fatty acids, EFAs.
Omega-3, 6, 9.
Yes.
And what about
help you make
HLAs?
And what?
What about HLA?
GLA.
Or GLA.
GLA, yes. GLA to a pharmacist and a skincare chemist is it's like a deity, GLA. It's so important for your skin, and it's so important for women, for the female reproductive system, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful non-essential fatty acid that's made from omega-6 fatty acids.
Wow.
Gamma-linolenic acid.
Love it, Ben. Let's get out to our next phone call. This is our good friend. Well, he's okay. It's Billy Sunshine. You're in the air, Billy.
Billy.
Oh, God. Dave and Ben, what a great combination.
Well,
So,
Billy, thank you.
Ben, I'm not suffering from lack of
cannabinoids
at all. Yeah, exactly. Thanks.
Okay, gotcha.
But, I am suffering from loss of memory.
That means too much cannabinoids,
now, I'm a lot
Billy.
older than you.
That's too much
I'm
cannabinoids.
a lot older than you.
That's extreme cannabinoids.
Exactly. What else can I do to keep Alzheimer's at bay?
Well, a lot. There's so many. It's a great question, and it's way bigger question than we can talk about now. It's a great question. Okay. In fact, we should put that on the list there. Do you know they're expecting all cases of Alzheimer's dementia to double by 2050, which is like 25 years, to double. It's an awful thing. My dad had it, and I saw it firsthand. And you don't want to get it. You're right, Billy. You're smart to be taking preventive measures, especially if you like the weed, the evil weed, as they say. Fats. The secret is in the fats. The brain is a fatty organ. Making sure you're getting enough of the ultimate EFAs, as we're talking about, and essential fatty acids in general, and fatty vitamins, like vitamin E particularly. Vitamin E protects fats. Vitamin E is really interesting. Fat vitamins in general are really interesting. We don't really, talk about them too much, what they really are. But vitamin E, of all the vitamins, stands out because it's not really used in any chemical reactions like other vitamins. Instead, it's a guardian. It's a protector. And it sits on the outside of fats and it protects the fats. Because the brain is so dependent on fats, the insulation on the nerve cells is fatty. Protecting the fats is a very, very, very important strategy for dealing with, for preventing dementia or any kind of brain or neurological issues in general, vitamin E. And then also, you probably know this, dementia is called type 3 diabetes because there is an interesting reaction that happens between sugar and various tissues in the body, including the brain. So making sure that you're keeping your sugars down and treating yourself as a diabetic is also important for if you want to protect yourself against dementia. And then there's the energy nutrients like the B vitamins, which you want to be taking lots of. And that's, of course, where you get your Beyond Tangy Tangerine, why that's so important. And then lastly, there's a sewage system in your brain. A toxin relieving excreting system, like your lymph.
Get rid of my beta amyloid protein?
Let me tell you about beta amyloid. And so that's very good, Billy. You know your stuff there. And so sleep is very important for helping the brain extract toxins through this glymph system, they call it, which is like a sewage system for toxins. So making sure you're getting enough sleep, and insomnia is associated with dementia. And then your point is also very well taken. There's lots of ways that you can do this, but most importantly is you want to make sure that you're protecting your fats, taking care of your blood sugar, and then also if you want to do one other thing, and then getting enough sleep, and if you also want to do one other thing, do crossword puzzles, or exercise, physical resistance training, or study a new language, or read a different book, or brush your teeth with your left hand instead of your right hand, or vice versa, depending on what you usually do. Give yourself novelty. Go to a different country. Memorize your credit card or phone numbers or the bin numbers at the grocery store on the bulk bins. In other words, stress your brain a little bit. Exercise your brain a little bit, and you'll secrete something called BDNF, which is a chemical that helps stimulate the production of nerve cells. So there's lots of ways to do it, and we should all be doing all of those ways, especially me and you, Billy, who are, well, you especially, but me, I'm right behind you.
Thanks, kids. That's great, Ben.
Thank you, Billy. Right. 831-479-1080. Our last phone call for the evening is coming from Watsonville. Billy Q wants to talk about HLA. Ben, you're in the air.
GLA.
I think he said hyaluronic acid.
Oh, hyaluronic acid.
Yeah, hyaluronic acid, I understand it helps attach tendons to bones and stuff. And I have a fractured bone in my wrist. And I don't know, I'm going to eat it and it's going to find its way there, or can you inject it directly?
Great question. That's a great question.
Can you inject hyaluronic acid directly to an affected area?
No, it doesn't work that way. What you want to do is you want to stimulate the production of your own hyaluronic acid. When you eat hyaluronic acid, it's not like that hyaluronic acid goes into your hyaluronic acid. That's not what happens. Let me tell you what happens. It's very fascinating. When you eat hyaluronic acid, it goes through your digestive system into your blood. And when it gets into your blood, your body sees it in the blood. And it says to itself, there must be an injury somewhere. And in response to that perception of injury, which it's seeing because it doesn't know you took a supplement, it just sees a little piece of hyaluronic acid floating in the blood, and that triggers a wound healing response. In other words, the building blocks of connective tissue, be they hyaluronic acid or glucosamine, like the glucogel caps, for example, or chondroitin, or various amino acids, peptides, collagen peptides and such. They signal growth. They tell the body to grow, or the connective tissue to grow, because the signal is there's a wound in the body. There's damage in the body. Do you follow what I'm saying? It acts as a trigger to turn on the production of your connective tissue. It's not like it goes into your connective tissue. It's a trigger for the production of your own connective tissue. I hope that makes sense, because it's super cool how the body does that. Isn't that interesting, Dave? Like the body says, oh, there's a wound somewhere. Let's turn on connective tissue building.
The body is an amazing thing.
Right? Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, totally.
Yes.
Thank you for the call, Billy Q.
Last thing about connective tissue.
Okay.
Every time you take your collagen peptides, your glucogel caps, your high hyaluronic acid, whatever it is, do it with Beyond Tangy Tangerine, because the nutrients in the Beyond Tangy Tangerine will activate the production of connective tissue, while all the things you're taking will act as triggers for connective tissue synthesis. None of it happens without the vitamin C that's in the Beyond Tangy Tangerine.
Final question, Ben Fuchs. 2 text messages, both asking about heavy metals, because recently there was a fire in Moss Landing at the battery storage plant, and everything went up in smoke from these big, giant batteries. Battery cells, that store electricity. So there's a bunch of heavy metals that were in the air, and some of them have even been found on the surface of the surrounding area out there. So heavy metals, Ben.
Nature has a heavy metal detox. Nature has everything, right? Well, nature has a heavy metal detox. That's a few of them, actually. But one of the most important are plant-derived minerals. That's one of the most important heavy metal detox nutrients you could ever ingest. Plant-derived minerals. There's a whole bunch of other ones you could do. Ultimate selenium is important. Ultimate MSM is also helpful. Spirulina, chlorophyll in general can be helpful. But the BTT, the plant-derived minerals in the BTT, and the other longevity products that contain plant-derived minerals are the best heavy metal detox ingredients, nutrients that you could ever ingest. And I think it's time we give one away, no?
Yes, Ben, that's a great idea.
Yeah, who should we give it to?
I don't know. Give them your phone number, Ben, and your address. They can go pick it up.
Go to the Dave Cave.
Yes.
On Saturday. When are you there? Saturdays?
Saturday, yes.
Go to the Day Cave and say you want a BTT.
So how do we find out? Let's open up the phone lines and make it. Which caller, Ben?
Did you put everybody in the hat? All the names?
No. Well, we're just going to open up the phone lines and we'll pick like caller number what?
Okay, caller number 4.
Caller number 4. Call right now and you'll get a free canister of Tangy Tangerine from Pharmacist Ben Fuchs.
But you have to come back on the show and tell us about it.
Oh, okay. Yes. I like that, Ben.
Yes, you have to
Caller number 4 at 831-479-1080. And if you don't win the Tangy Tangerine now, remember, check out tangytangy.com. You can place an order there. Super easy. I don't know if you've ever tried to order anything from Longevity, but tangytangy.com is definitely the easiest way that I've seen. So let's go through these guys. Caller 1, you didn't win. Caller 2, you didn't win. Caller 3, you didn't win. This is a lucky winner, Ben. This caller ends in 23. Can we get your first name? Hey, caller, ending in 23. All right, we go to the next one. This caller ends in 62. Your first name and where you're calling from?
Dave, it's Steve. It's Steve in Santa Cruz.
Oh, Steve, are you interested in picking up this free canister?
Do I have to do it right now?
No, it's Saturday.
Saturday, I'll come by and get it.
Steve, okay, Steve, I have your
phone
number.
You got to come back on the show and tell us about it.
Yeah, you got to come back.
What time Saturday?
10 till 2. I'm here 10 till 2 on Saturdays.
I'll be there, man. It's my dream come true. Hey, Ben.
Hey, good to see you, Steve.
All right,
good
Steve.
To talk to you, Steve.
Congratulations, and we'll see you Saturday. I've got your phone number. I think I know who it is, though, so I no doubt we'll get the right person. Okay, so, Ben Fuchs, I hear that you've got a previous engagement, and you got to get out of here. Ben's a very busy man. So, Ben, I thank you for joining us here on the Mineral Way.
Loved it. And then when's our next? We're going to do another.
Every Monday night. People can call in at 479-1080. Even though it's not on the radio, it's still a podcast, and we can still take phone calls just like we are right now. Every Monday night, 6 p.m., Ben.
And we had a Zoom coming up, hopefully.
Yes, we have a Zoom coming up. We haven't worked out the details, but that's very easy to do, and we will have a Zoom meeting coming up soon.
Cool. TangyTangy.com.
TangyTangy.com, Ben.
All right. Thank you. Good to talk to you again, Dave. Bye, everybody.
That was pharmacist Ben Fuchs. We'll be back on the other side of this break. Keep it tuned in. Just a quick reminder, be sure to check out themineralway.com to place your order for any of the products that you heard pharmacist Ben Fuchs and myself talk about. Themineralway.com, be sure to check that out today.